Today, we're going to be concluding our potato growing experiment. If you haven't seen the video that we did about 3 months ago, we grew potatoes in 5-gallon buckets using soil that we dug up from our backyard, and we had a separate bucket using potting soil and fertilizer. The whole point of this experiment was to show that you can grow potatoes cheaply and affordably. You don't have to go out and spend money to just grow a couple of dollars worth of potatoes. My name is Ripley. If you're new to the channel, first off, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. What we do here is build your passion for growing through simple yet effective and affordable means of increasing your harvest at home and bringing more beauty to your gardens. These are the couple of buckets that we had growing here, and we're going to talk about a couple of issues that we ran into when growing these, so I'm not so sure how the experiment will turn out, to be completely honest, but as you can tell, they have died back, so we don't really have a choice but to harvest them at this point. The reason why these died back really early, and I'm kind of bummed out about it, is that we've had a lot of very hot weather along with a ton of rain. So those two conditions combined are no good for potatoes, and unfortunately, they didn't even flower. Typically, you're gonna wanna wait until your potatoes flower before you harvest them, so they'll flower, keep on growing, and then die back after that stage. But these hadn't even flowered, so we'll see what we can get out of them. No promises, but I still think we should be able to see conclusive results on if the soil just dug up from our backyard versus the potting soil and fertilizer, how much of a difference those two make. So we're gonna head over by our flower garden where we're gonna dump these out and see just what we've got inside of these buckets here. We are working on filling up these raised beds here, which is why we're just gonna dump these right out inside of it to see what we have. This is the container that had the potting soil, and then this one was the regular soil that we dug up from our backyard here. So we do have some potatoes, which is better than I'd thought. Like I said, we still had about another 30 days to go on these things. Got that right there. And yeah, that's gonna be it. Oh, one more here. One more here. Okay, sifted through it. And well, that's what we got from the plain soil. I'll talk a little bit more about our harvest size later. Now the fertilizer mix. You can see this is the original seed potato right there. I'm even gonna get all of these small little ones just to show exactly which ones would have turned into full-size potatoes had we been able to grow them longer. Again, I am sorry that these potatoes died, so I couldn't show you like actual legitimate results that I wanted to, but I still think we did get pretty conclusive results from this experiment nonetheless. So on the one that we, in the bucket that we used just topsoil from the backyard here, no specific area either, it was really poor soil. We got 5 decent sized potatoes. Those are harvestable sizes. These are the ones that we would really expect to get at the end of the harvest, maybe about 10-15% bigger if we went that extra 25 to 30 days like I was talking about earlier in the video. And then here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 little baby potatoes, which would have grown to this size had we been able to grow these out full term. Again, we couldn't do that. If we were able to grow these to full maturity about 30 days from now, which would have taken us up to just about 90 days of growth, then we would have seen a lot of these potatoes grow to their full term and size that we wanted, but I still think we're able to draw conclusive results from this experiment. So let's move on to the potting soil with fertilizer mix. For the potting mixture, we've got 6 big ones and 7 little ones. So funny enough, we got the same amount of potatoes from each one, but the potting soil mixture did a little bit better. These potatoes, most of them are bigger. So like all those tiny little ones that we got in the topsoil mixture just weren't able to grow as fast as the ones with the potting soil mix because it's going to be less dense. It's a less dense mixture compared to the soil that we dug up in our backyard, which was really dense. So not a lot of room for those potatoes to sprout out and grow like we would want to. The real promising thing that we were able to illustrate in this experiment is that both pots had the same amount of potatoes growing in them. The topsoil one was just more dense, so they weren't able to grow as fast. While this was a little bit of a failure, I do think that it shows promising results, as the free pot that we used from potting soil in the backyard still had the same amount of potatoes in it as the one that we used potting soil and fertilizer, which cost us about $10 to make. So for a $10 difference, you really don't get that many more potatoes out of them. If we were able to do this fully out long term like we wanted to, about 90 days till potato harvest, I think we would have gotten about the same amount of weight for that harvest in each bucket. So that is really promising and shows me that I need to do this again, probably on a bigger scale, so hopefully we get some better results from it and see just how they do. Either way, I hope this shows you that you don't always have to go out and spend money when growing vegetables and fruits in your backyard gardens or your homestead. Sometimes there is a cheaper method that might work just as well as the method that costs 10 times as much. Gardening should be simple. It should be something that takes our mind off of the daily routine and the stress of life. So if money is a factor, don't let it be anymore. Just go out there and use what you can. At least you're gonna get some harvest out of it, even though it might not be completely ideal. You're gonna be able to grow vegetables nonetheless. I illustrate this in my entire garden back here as we utilize a lot of free resources whenever we can, especially when it comes to fertilizer. I'll talk a little bit about how we fertilize our gardens while we're on the topic. What I implement here in the garden is a chop, drop, and till method. That's kind of self-proclaimed, I guess. What I do is take all the vegetative matter that is not harvestable, and I will turn in a lot of it in the topsoil just like I did here, leaving us with this broken down material, which then is going to be fertilizing the soil, feeding the microbes, the bacteria, the fungi in the soil over time, as well as using our compost bin over in the side of the garden. Basically, what I try to preach on this channel is that everything that we're growing in the garden should eventually be turned back into the soil to create a nutrient-dense, living soil that our plants really need to thrive. The chemical fertilizers that you could pick up at the store can only do so much, but when returning all of this stuff into the soil, that's what the microbes and bacteria really thrive on. And that's going to be what is ultimately feeding our vegetables at home. This is what we build our base off of when growing vegetables in the garden. We have incredible harvest all year round, no matter what type of plant that we are growing. You see we have our giant banana peppers here, which are doing incredibly well. Tomatoes, bountiful tomatoes. Some very big ones as well. I can't wait to harvest those. Stay tuned for the video on that. An incredible bush bean harvest. Peas, strawberries, rhubarbs, beets, turnips, kohlrabi, onions, carrots, you name it, we've just about got everything here in the garden. And I hardly spend any money when fertilizing this at all. We've got our 2 compost bins over there, which is where all of our compost comes from, except for our coffee grounds that we get from a couple of different local coffee shops, as well as Starbucks. And we also like to utilize wood chips for a mulch on top of our garden beds during the early spring. So this is also going to break down into the soil, giving us the incredible harvest that we're looking for. So if you want to see more of that stuff, subscribe to the channel, check us out. We've got a plethora of videos on all kinds of topics, ranging from annual flowers, perennials, cuttings, propagations, vegetables, our backyard chickens, and many more things. And to let you all know, our upcoming videos are going to be on our willow logs that we propagated, giving you an update on them, a garden tour sometime in the very near future. We've got a video coming up on our incredible tomato harvest that we have, as well as a video on the beets that we succession planted by not thinning them out. I'm telling you what, this beet video is going to be really, really cool too, to show you the results that we got and how many beets we were able to grow just by simply not thinning them out and picking out the big ones as they matured. It honestly blew me away. We try and get out as much valuable content as we can for the community during every single month of the year. So thank you all so much for watching today's video. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next video.